What is going on, everyone? Welcome to this video. I got two of my dogs here. Don't know where the other one is. Really, he's just stealing the show. Sorry, Scooby. So I actually asked you guys on Instagram if I should review all of these Scooby-Doo movies because there are like over 30 movies because they release at least one a year. And nobody voted. Just kidding. Nobody voted no. So, okay, here we are. We're gonna start this. So, as you guys hopefully should know, I absolutely hate Scooby-Doo. Okay, so I thought, since I am totally into Scooby-Doo, I have been all my life, basically. I thought, why have I not reviewed the movies? Because I always get excited to watch the movies. So, we are going to begin that. So, let me give you a quick little story time. We're having story time with Ashton, okay? So, here we go. I need a book. You're gonna work. Once upon a time, in a long, long time ago, however that Star Wars saying goes. So how I came to love Scooby-Doo, actually, my dad and I were driving. Well, my dad was driving, not me. My dad. I was little. My dad was driving. I was riding with him, and there was, okay, I don't remember it. This is what my parents told me. So there was like a crazy fire at like this farm or something, and it was like, getting to the animals and getting to the barn and whatever. It was spreading like crazy. So my dad like stopped and ran and was like, you need help, like what's going on? And like all the neighbors and stuff, came and were like, oh my gosh, what can we do? Anyways, so he's like, can someone go and get my son? I left him in the car. So I was just chilling there. I was like, what a beautiful world this is. And so a lady went and got me and took me to her house. And basically she just put in Scooby-Doo for me. And I sat and watched Scooby-Doo. And then once they got the fire calmed down, they did get it calmed down. They got it under control and everything. My dad, got me, and the lady was just like, oh yeah, I just put in Scooby-Doo for him and whatever. And, my dad was like, oh cool, thank you so much and whatever. Anyways, so then after that I was like, yeah, that show I watched, I want every freaking episode now. And thus started my love for Scooby-Doo. The sad thing is, we don't know who that lady was. Like, we didn't get a name or anything, and it's crazy because that'd be so cool to tell her, that little bit of time that you had me watch Scooby-Doo created this massive obsession in my DNA. And anyways, story time is over. Okay, so to begin, we are going to talk about the very first Scooby-Doo movie. It is not technically the very first because they had like a few before, like Scooby-Doo Goes Hollywood and Scooby-Doo and the Arabian Nights and Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul School, Scooby-Doo Meets the Boo Brothers, Scooby-Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf. But those weren't technically movies. Like they were movies, but like they were specials. Anyways, we're talking about the direct-to-DVD movies. That's what we're talking about, okay? Okay. So, the very first one is Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. So, to give you a little backstory of how this came to be, Scooby-Doo went off the air for some years because it was just getting dull. The same thing over and over. So, a Japanese animation studio, Mook Animation, hopefully I'm saying that's right, actually made a Scooby-Doo movie, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. And the whole thing of this was, the monsters are real.
Because this time the monsters are real.
Spoiler alert. So, they made Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island and it was a massive hit. They aired it on Halloween in 1998 and it was a massive hit. And so they were like, oh, Scooby's still popular. Let's get this ball rolling. And thus began the generation? The era? It hasn't ended. The year-by-year movie release. We now have over 30. So, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. I will give you a little plot here. So for these Scooby-Doo movie reviews, I am going to talk about the plot of each movie. I have notes, that's why I'm looking at my phone. I'm not trying to be rude, I have notes. I'm going to talk about the actual characters and the voice actors because the voice actors do change throughout, except for Frank Welker. He is just immortal and lives forever, and he is doing great, and he can never die because he is Fred. He is always Fred. He will never not be Fred. God bless him. We'll be talking about the settings, the music and the score for each movie, the animation and art style because it does change over time. Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island started out hand-drawn. They were still doing hand-drawn back then. Nowadays, it's all computer animated, you know. It helps time, I understand. And then we will be talking about the villains of each movie because obviously that is the core of Scooby-Doo is the villains. And then we will be talking about the covers too because does this make you want to watch it and or pick it up? Okay, we're going to be talking about that. And then we will also talk about the trailer, the initial trailer for each movie that they released. Kind of, does it look good from the trailer? Does it make you want to watch it? Does it tell the story, you know, does it introduce you to the story? And then we will be talking about my final verdict, what I rate each movie. And I'm only going up to 5. It is just going to be from 0 to 5. I'm not doing 0 to 10 because I feel like if you have 0 to 10, you can always just be like 7, 8 for like every movie, you know, so then, well, they're not horrible, but they're not the best. So if we have 0 out of 5, you don't have that many options of numbers, okay? Okay, here we go! Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. Now, the plot. We are going to begin with the plot. So, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island takes place a year after all the original shenanigans of Scooby-Doo. The gang have grown tired of the usual unmasking, you know, it's just a guy in a mask, you know. They were hoping for something really supernatural, except maybe not Velma. But they grew bored of it, and so they decided to go their own ways for a little bit and get actual jobs.
You know, the real reason I changed jobs was because the monsters and ghosts always turned out to be bad guys in a mask.
Got a little boring, eh?
Yeah, by the way, Daphne, were you even getting paid to solve mysteries? Don't consider it a job. So, Daphne has become a actress. She has her own TV show and Fred is her cameraman. Because obviously, they can't be part. They were like, we're going our separate ways, except Fred and I. Velma owns her own bookstore instead of working for NASA or something. Go her. And Shaggy and Scooby are checking bags in an airport. And that does not last. Like at all. Anyways, story goes on. Daphne needs a new segment for her TV show. Hello. And so it is called Haunted America. She wants to go find true supernatural. So Fred has an idea to get the gang back together, because it was Daphne's birthday. So they get the gang back together, they got the mystery machine back, they are ready to go. And so they go on their little shenanigans again. And we have this beautiful song born, explaining that it's just a guy in a mask.
Another scary night, another spooky fright, and we just might be in danger. The ghost is here and it's always a fate.
Anyways, they end up in New Orleans. They are just tired of the masks, and I mean, Velma's happy again. She doesn't want the supernatural. She's happy. She's like, just like the good old days. Anyways, so a woman named Lena overhears their conversation and invites them to her island, basically. She has a random island in the bayou because why not? Why not? So they take up her offer and they meet Simone, the owner of the mansion and the island, basically. And the island is where they grow these peppers. They are supposed to be the hottest peppers in Louisiana. So they're hoping to find real supernatural there because Lena has promised them that the actual house is haunted. So as they do, Shaggy and Scooby obviously find the first zombie. And we get this beautiful scene. That haunts us for the rest of our life. Anyways, so to go on with the story, there are zombies coming all over the place. They're just coming up from the waters, from the bayou, from the ground. Eventually, Fred, Daphne, and Velma are like, okay. It is a guy in a mask. But Fred pops the head off of one of them. Rest in peace. Pieces. Because he broke your head off. Eventually they're like, shoot! These are real zombies, there's not a mask. And then we get another beautiful song as they run away.
And it's terror time again. They've got you running through the night.
So eventually they're like, shoot, we left Lena and Simone in the mansion. So they go back. And they find Lena and she's all, Simone was taken by the zombies. And so they like follow her. And if you haven't seen the movie by now, I mean, it's been 20 years. Spoiler alert! Lena and Simone are cat creatures and they suck the energy of humans to stay immortal. Thus, the zombies were the good guys and the cat creatures were the bad guys. And they are some of the most creepiest looking villains of Scooby-Doo ever. So that is the plot, that is a quick plot. So, now let's talk about what makes this Scooby-Doo movie good. Because for the quote-unquote first time, the monster is real.
Because this time the monsters are real.
Now, they're not counting previous incarnations, obviously, because in the trailer, they kept saying, this time it's real. Whatever. So, for the first time, we have real monsters. We have real zombies, real cat creatures. Obviously, that creates a really darker tone. Overall, the movie's color palette is darker compared to what we've seen in previous Scooby-Doo incarnations over the years. It is just darker, and the animation is a lot more, they're able to do a lot more with the animation as well. So, overall it is darker. This is probably one of the darkest Scooby-Doos to date. But we also now have Mr. Incorporated, and that one got pretty dark too, so these ones are kind of intertwined with darkness. So, let's talk about the characters first. The voice actors. So, we have the original Mr. Inking. The only ones that are in their original attire is Shaggy, Velma, and obviously Scooby. He just has a collar. Fred and Daphne actually have different clothes. Except, well, Fred doesn't have his ascot, and Daphne doesn't have hers or a headband. But Daphne's still in purple, so she's still in her color. Fred is in a blue. So, for Fred, we still have Frank Welker. He has voiced Fred ever since 1969 up to the present 2018. For Daphne, it was Mary Kay Bergman. So this is a brand new voice for Daphne. Before, it was Heather North. For Velma, it's B.J. Ward. She took over Pat Stevens, so a brand new voice for Velma. For Shaggy, it's Billy West. Billy West took over for Shaggy because the original voice, Casey Kasem, was a vegetarian, and they put Scooby and Shaggy in a Burger King commercial, and Kasem was not having it. He said he would not voice Shaggy unless he was vegetarian. So Casey kind of took a back seat for Shaggy for a little bit. So Billy West took over for him for this movie. For Scooby-Doo, it was Scott Ines, the original voice of Scooby, Don Messick, I believe that's how you say it, passed away a year before this movie was released, so this movie is dedicated to him, which is beautiful. And then we had Lena, who was voiced by Tara Strong. If you don't know who Tara Strong is, she has done tons of voice acting. She has done Timmy Turner in The Fairly Odd Parents. She does, I think, Raven in Teen Titans. She's just done so many. She's crazy. She's amazing, crazy. For Simone, we had Adrienne Barbeau. I'm probably totally ruining those names. For Bo, we had Cameron Clark. Bo was the investigator who was secretly being their planter for Simone and Lena. For Jock, we had Jim Cummings. He was like the boat captain dude that would drive the boats between islands and whatever. And for Snakebite, he was the fisher dude in the bayou that didn't want anyone in his bayou to scare away the fish and whatever. He was played by Mark Hamill. So overall, here's the thing. The characters are definitely great representations of the characters. They are being portrayed as adults in this movie, so they're out of high school, they have real jobs now. So that kind of carries on throughout the rest of the movies, is that they're adults. There are a few times where it contradicts itself, where in Moon Monster Madness, so in this movie we see Daphne driving the Mystery Machine, and then years later in Moon Monster Madness, we see her taking her driver's test to get her driver's license. So that contradicts itself with the timeline. And then since they're supposedly out of school in Scooby-Doo Legend of the Phantasaur, Fred talks about having to redo an assignment for a class. So that also contradicts itself. So timeline-wise, currently in this movie, they are adults, they are out of high school. So now we'll move on to the settings. So obviously, like I said, we are in New Orleans. They went into the bayou, and they went onto Moonscar Island. Captain Moonscar was the captain pirate of this pirate gang, obviously, that basically came and rampaged Lena and Simone's island. They basically chased off all of the village people into the moat and basically fed them to the alligators. Like, That's how dark this movie got. People got eaten by alligators. So overall, you know, the characters are like stuck on this island that's just surrounded by trees and water, and so, you know, you scream and people in the like New Orleans city and whatever are not gonna hear you. So it definitely brought a more darker feel to the movie. Overall, this movie is darker. Now for the music and score, the music obviously definitely went with the movie. You know, it had a darker tone. We didn't get much of the original Scooby-Doo music that was in the original cartoons. It was new scores for the film, and it definitely matched, you know, where they were and what was happening. We also got a few songs. We had The Ghost Is Here and Terror Time.
'Cause it's terror time again.
We also got the original Scooby-Doo Where Are You theme song at the very beginning of the movie. This carries out through a few of the movies later, but it eventually stops. They stop doing it. So overall, this actually has some of the best music in a Scooby-Doo movie. The soundtrack's great, the score, the background music is great, you know, because everything about this movie is darker for Scooby-Doo. So it's definitely one of the darker type scores for Scooby-Doo, and it totally fits it. Okay, so the animation and art style, like I said, the only ones that are in the original attire is Shaggy, Velma, and Scooby. But overall, it's going back to the original Scooby-Doo Where Are You animation. It's just updated with finer lines and more detail, you know. They're able to add more detail and to the characters and to the environments. The background, the environment is gorgeous. They're able to do so much with that, and I think it looks awesome. And especially like in the bayou and on Moonscar Island and everything, they're able to make it look foggy and creepy and dark and whatever. And overall, the color palette for this movie is darker, and so, you know, they're able to have a lot more colors in this movie than the previous iterations of Scooby. Now, it was animated by a Japanese animation studio, so sometimes you can kind of see the Japanese anime kind of come into it, which is totally fine. You know, I feel like anime is great with action, and so, you know, when this movie gets into some action sequences, it looks amazing. They do a great job with it. So overall, you know, the animation is great in this one. Probably one of the better ones, and it totally fits the tone of the movie too. So now for the villains of this movie. So obviously at first hand you think zombies, because obviously Zombie Island, hello. But it was actually the cat creatures were the villains. But for the zombies, they are definitely creepy. It's really cool because we get to see at one point a zombie come back to life. Like the skeleton rebuilds itself, and then the muscles build over it, and then the rotting skin comes back over it and everything. And I mean, that kind of haunts you for the rest of your life, but it looks really cool. And what's really cool is the zombies, since Simone and Lena were luring innocent people to the island to drain them so that they could stay alive and immortal. If you look, you can see a ton of like different generations of zombies, basically, of people, because, you know, you'll see some Civil War type zombies, or the pirate gang zombies, or you can even see some tourist type zombies that have cameras and the Hawaiian type shirts and whatever. And so it's really cool. You can see the different generations that they lured in, and so yeah. But the true villains of this movie were the cat creatures. Now, these things were freaky looking, and they had a great like backstory to them. The only thing disappointing really was we didn't get to see them much, because they saved the cat creatures for the very, very end of the movie, basically as like the plot twist of the whole movie. So that's probably my only disappointment, is we didn't get to see a whole lot of them. Like they had such a great backstory to them, but we didn't really get to see much of them. We did get to see them start to drain Shaggy and Scooby. Obviously they didn't succeed. And we got to see them chasing after the gang and whatever a little bit. But overall, we didn't get to see them a whole lot. So that's kind of my only disappointment with the cat creatures. Okay, so now that we kind of know about the movie and whatever, let's look at the DVD cover, okay? This is the DVD cover. So looking at this, would you guys pick it up? I mean, not purely for Scooby more, but more of, oh, it looks like an interesting movie. So, cause on the DVD cover we have the entire gang, Scooby up front, obviously. We have the title. They are in the bayou, the fog. Up at the top we can see zombies. They're kind of in like a stone, like carvings of stone. I don't know why. And then we can also see a like haunted house mansion thing up in the corner. Now that is not the Moonscar Island mansion. It is not Simone's mansion. It is actually the mansion that we see at the very beginning of the movie during the flashback of one of the gang's previous mysteries. So that's kind of misleading, kind of. So on the front cover we also get to see the updated attire for the Scooby gang. So that's kind of nice, you know, they didn't just like slap on the original costumes and then you watch the movie and you're like, why, you know, so that's nice. But there is absolutely no sign of the cat creatures, which is actually really cool because, you know, the cat creatures is an awesome plot twist of the whole story. So it's awesome that looking at this DVD cover, you have, even on the back, you have no idea about the cat creatures whatsoever. So if you've never seen this, you pop this in and then you get to the end and you're like, what? Those zombies. So overall, it's a awesome DVD cover in my opinion. It's not one that would make me be like, ooh, I want to watch that one very first. Just looking at the DVD cover, just because I like to pick up the bright type things, you know, like there's a bright book cover, I'll pick that one up more, you know. So I like to pick up the brighter ones more. But if you're into the darker tones and stuff, you know, this one definitely will appeal to you, you know, will draw you in. Okay, so the trailer of this movie, this one really pushed on the fact that this time they're real. So unfortunately it was kind of disappointing that they like instantly, you know, they're real. But I get why they were doing that because, you know, Scooby was dying and so they were like, oh, but they're real now. They're not just costumes, you know, to draw people in. Again, we see no sign of cat creatures. They really wanted that to be a plot twist. So, there is no sign of cat creatures in the trailer either. We also don't get a lot of sign of the zombies, but, you know, whatever. A lot of the scenes that they show are actually the flashback at the very beginning of the movie. So they were really trying to save the whole plot of the movie, that they're real and everything for you to actually watch it. So, I don't know. Overall, the trailer is just kind of a meh one to me. I don't love this trailer. Like it's not one I'm like, oh, I have to watch that one, you know, if I'd never seen it. But it definitely would intrigue me because of this time they're real. So, yeah. Okay guys, so that is my overall review of Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, the very first direct-to-video Scooby-Doo movie. The darkest one as well. So like I said, I am rating these 0 out of 5. I am giving this one 5 out of 5 purely because they tried something new for the Scooby Gang. They gave them real monsters to deal with. They put the gang as they made the gang older, you know, into adults. They have actual jobs, you know, and we got to see them be separate for once, you know, and then come back together. Plus, the animation in this is amazing. The tone overall is very dark, so if you were to watch this when you were younger, it would definitely give you a few creeps. So, yes, 5 out of 5 for me on this one. Okay guys, so let me know in the comments below what you guys think of this movie, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. Have you seen it? Do you guys like it? Let me know your score out of 5. I definitely enjoy this one. It's not one I watch over and over just because sometimes it can be kind of creepy and sometimes you just want a little lighthearted Scooby. But if someone were to ask, you know, I can only get one Scooby movie or something, or I can only watch one Scooby movie right now, which one do you prefer? I would be like, this one would definitely be one I would recommend to watch. Especially if you haven't seen Scooby, I'd definitely recommend this one. So guys, that is my review for Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. If you liked it, hit the like button, it's always appreciated. And if you're new here, press the subscribe button, it's just right down there below. And that is going to do it. So, the next one I will be reviewing is Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost. So, until next time, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Say bye! Bye, Scoob!